Eric, I want you to sit in the chair. And I want you to come over here. Matter of fact, why don't you stand on this side? You stand here, you stand here. Stand right here. Okay. Put your legs together. Just relax. All right. What the four of us are going to do is a little demonstration where we're going to lift Eric up out of the chair using 2 fingers each. Okay? And let me explain the process. The first time we attempt to lift him up, we're going to have a little difficulty. We'll go into conference with my associates, and then when we come out of conference, we'll lift him up, and I'll explain to you what we did, all right? Okay, so I want you all to put your fingers together like this, and I want you to get right underneath his armpit. And you and I are going to get right underneath his knees. And I don't want anybody to strain. I want it to be a natural lift. And I just want, the first time I want you all to just feel his weight. All right, so that's concrete in your mind. All right, on my count, attempt to lift him up. 1, 2, 3. All right, brother's not budging, right? Okay, now, I want you to take your hand. All right, take your left hand and hold it over his head. Take your left hand and hold it over his head. Let's get in position again. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you. Simple. Real simple. Now, let me explain to you what we did. We talked earlier about energy flowing through your body. Talked earlier about the left side of your body being feminine, receiving energy, right side of your body being masculine and transmitting energy. That's why that little image of Jesus, the Christ that I showed you all, showed him with his left hand over his heart, receiving energy, right hand out, transmitting energy. All right? This is an age-old reality about you, your body, how your body functions with relationship to the universe. Right? Everything in the universe is comprised of these 2 elements, masculine and feminine elements. So the key to life, the key to existence is using these elements in concert with one another in balance and harmony so that you can maintain a certain level of equilibrium. And so that energy flows through our body, out the other side of our body. It also flows through our spinal cord, which is what the caduceus, the symbol of medicine, represents. The flow of energy, the 2 circuits, the flow of energy through your body, as well as the flow of energy through your spinal cord. All right? So, by having Eric sit down in the chair, and us placing our hands over his head, and what we did was synchronize our energy to his. And what I directed them to do was to create an image in their mind of us lifting him up out of the chair, to create that fact. And then once you plant that seed, your body cannot help but to respond to the thought that you have directed it to do. So when we came back, our bodies generated the energy necessary to lift him up out of the chair. So what I'm saying is that there is nothing that you all are not capable of doing. There are some who believe that a similar type of method may have been employed to manipulate the stones related to the pyramids and some of the other temples that we saw. And the idea is not too far-fetched in terms of being able to change the molecular density of matter. Change its substance so it becomes lighter in form so that it can be moved and then reverting it back to its original state. I mean, it's very simple physics, very simple physics. And so what I want you to understand is the power of this relationship which exists between your mind and your body. It is not something to be taken for granted. Now, the human body, we need to understand, like the mind, is energized by the Creator and is being transformed every second. Again, I cannot overemphasize the power or the importance of monitoring your thoughts. There have been examples where, to talk about to digress for a minute and talk about hormones again. Because these hormones are the chemical messages that are secreted by the pineal gland, the seat of God, which instruct your body to do specific things. And for all of the sisters here in the audience, sisters who have borne children and who have breastfed their children, have experienced occasions when they heard that child crying and their breast started to secrete milk. Okay? The sound of a baby's cry, sound waves, reach your ear and trigger a reaction within your pineal gland, which causes it to secrete a hormone, which causes your breast to secrete milk. All right? And to the same extent, if a woman who is breastfeeding is in a public arena or on the train and hears another baby cry, that same cry triggers that same process in your mind. To that same extent, there have been instances recorded where women who were breastfeeding their babies were thinking about arguments, were thinking about very frustrating and upsetting events which transpired in their lives. Thinking about this process caused their body to react to that situation and secrete adrenaline, this hormone that helps you to participate in this fight or flight syndrome. And that adrenaline was secreted into your breast milk, which went into the body of that child, which did not have the system necessary to process that adrenaline correctly, and as a result, that baby died. Everything that you do, your relationship to your body, can either be life-creating or life-nullifying. It's not meant to be taken lightly. Every second of every day, every cell of your body is being transformed. Each cell in your body is like a miniature terminal which is directly connected to God. Every cell. Do you realize that right now, this exact second, there are 6 trillion processes going on in your body right now. 6 trillion processes. Every second, we're talking about energy being exchanged. We're talking about cells dying, cells being regenerated. Your body is a wonderful thing. You're constantly being energized and made anew by the Creator. Do you realize that your skin, which is the largest organ in your body, replaces itself every month? You get a new stomach lining every 5 days. You get a new liver every 6 weeks. And you get a new skeleton. Your bones replace themselves every 90 days. By the end of this year, 90% of your body would have been transformed. So if you continue to have the same afflictions at the end of the year that you had at the beginning of this year, it's because you are bringing these afflictions into your new body. Or you are not doing those things necessary in order to maintain the balance and harmony that you are capable of maintaining within this instrument. Okay? We are amazing creatures with limitless potential. And if we understand that potential, then we can tap into it to create, to make ourselves whole, not just in body, but in mind and in spirit. Okay? That is our ability as human beings. Okay? So one of the things that we have to do, step number 3, is to understand the relationship between our mind and our body. Step number 4, we have to honor our ancestors by remembering our past and promoting our culture. We have to realize that we, today, all of you all who are here in Africa, if you just think about it, think of the beauty of this. Y'all ain't supposed to be here. If the Europeans were as smart as we think they are, you all wouldn't be here today. Every one of us, every one of our ancestors that left Africa via the Middle Passage was to go through that door and never come back. You all been here, walked the shore, and get ready to go back of your own free will. Go back home on your own free will. And you're going to take some of Africa with you. You've got to understand who you are and what you are. You've got to realize that there is such a thing as genetic memory, cellular memory. Reverend Wilson made reference to that fact yesterday with regards to the flea, how fleas can be trained, and that training can be passed on to their children who will accept that training as reality. To the same extent, physicians are now beginning to acknowledge this thing called cellular memory, and that every cell in your body is capable of remembering things that you did, even if those cells are transplanted into someone else's body. There was an instance recorded where a woman received a heart transplant. And after that heart transplant, the woman experienced a craving for beer and McDonald's. She never drank beer before the heart transplant, never ate McDonald's. But she had this craving. She also began to have dreams. And in these dreams, this man named Timothy, I believe his name was, would come to her and talk to her in her dream. And she didn't know what to do. She thought she was going crazy. And then she struck upon the idea that maybe, this heart that I got in me is trying to tell me something. Let me find out whose heart this is. And so she went back through the medical records and discovered that the heart that she received was the heart that belonged to a man named Timothy. And when she was able to secure his address and went to his home to speak to some of his family members, she discovered that he did have a fondness for drinking beer, and he was killed on his way home from McDonald's. Okay? So to that extent, what I want you all to realize is that you have in your body the genetic memory of your ancestors, not just your ancient ancestors from Kemet, those ancestors who were dragged screaming and kicking from the shores of West Africa, those ancestors who were raped, who were lynched, and who were castrated in the United States of America. You have their genetic memory in your body. I mean, stop and think about it. Look at yourself in the mirror. Do you have your grandmother's eyes? Your great-grandfather's smile? Your aunt's bill? Your daddy's temper? They are living in you. You are the ancestors. So you have a responsibility to secure their memories within your life, to hold them near and dear. If not, if you turn your back on your ancestors, then they will turn their back on you, and there's nothing that you can do in this life without that ancestral connection. If you look at other cultures in the United States, you see that they understand this relationship, this ancestral relationship. And so they make it a point to continue to present their history, their culture, and their ancestral legacy, to impose their history and their culture and their ancestral legacy on the rest of the world. In the United States of America, last April, or April of '93, members of the Jewish community came together and opened the United States Jewish Holocaust Museum to celebrate the death of 6 million Jews who died in Germany. They pulled together $151 million of their own money to build this institution, hired a Jewish architect who incorporated within the structure symbolic elements of their Holocaust, and built that structure on Independence Avenue, 15th and Independence Avenue in Washington, D.C. And as of January 1st of this year, your tax dollars are being used to support that structure. Your tax dollars supporting that structure. Now my question to you is, where's your Holocaust memorial? Don't even have one. Most of our folk don't even think it's important. Don't want to think about the time when our ancestors were enslaved in America, too busy singing about when the Jews were enslaved in Egypt. And wonder why we're suffering today. We've got to understand what free people do. They honor their dead and keep their memories alive. Step number 5, you need to realize that as Africans in America, we are living in a state of war. And everything that you think and do has social, economic, political ramifications. You can't afford the luxury of thinking that you're doing your own thing. Everything that you do affects all of us. And when you understand that, then we will begin to act as a group and utilize the power that we have. Whoever controls what you think possesses a mighty weapon, and that is your mind. If they can disconnect you from your ancestral memory and have you believe that what happened during slavery was insignificant, that's over. That's in the past, child. This is 1994. You don't need to keep dwelling on that. Everybody else never lets go of the past because it determines their future, all right? One of the things we have to be able to do is to understand this reality and counteract such negative programming with the development of study groups, with the development of rites of passage programs for our youth. We need to think about developing and maintaining institutions within our community, within our churches, within our jobs, and within our homes, and understand that this is the link to our existence as a people. Carter G. Woodson said that every person has 2 educations. One that is given to him, and the other that he gives himself. And of the 2, the latter is by far more significant because everything that is important in a person's life is that which they must seek out for themselves. It constitutes your real education. It gives you those things necessary to chart the correct course in your life. Let me read to you a passage from Sister Ani's book, Let the Circle Be Unbroken, which she talks about the importance of maintaining ancestral links and why we have to keep that circle connected. If you look at everyone's into buying cartouches. All right? Cartouche is a French word. The African name for that object is chenou. And the chenou is based upon a symbol called the shin, which was a circle with a line at the bottom. It represented eternity. Eternity. And the whole purpose of a chenou was to place the name of the king or the queen inside of this circle of protection so that his memory would live forever. Because in the African tradition, to speak the name of a person is to keep their memory alive. Think about this. This is from a paragraph from Let the Circle Be Unbroken. The system and circumstances of slavery in New Europe, America, sought to destroy African value, African self-image, and self-concept. The African universe was disrupted. It became dysfunctional as the sense of order that it offered dissolved. For the overwhelming majority of those brought to North America and their direct descendants, the benefits of African culture were stripped away, not one by one, but brutally in one sudden and total act. Family, language, kinship patterns, food, dress, formal education were all gone. What replaced them was the order of slavery. It turned our humanity into weakness. To be European was to have value. To be African was to be without personal worth. The slave order created and depended upon a constant state of terror. And as long as you denied your Africanness, your humanness, and pretended that you didn't mind watching your sisters and brothers suffer around you, you were relatively safe, because fear was the great immobilizer. And we still are manipulated by fear. False education accepted as reality, miseducation of the Negro. Whoever determines your reality not only determines the quality of your life, but has the ability to determine the quality of life for your great-grandchildren. Because what your great-grandchildren will learn, they'll learn from your grandchildren. And your grandchildren will learn from you. So we're talking about 75, 80 years of life and creativity that you have a handle on right now. You determine the course of the future. So the key to our survival lies in us viewing reality through African eyes. Okay? What African traditions do African Americans maintain? We have to ask that question. What African traditions do we Africans in America maintain? For us to believe that we can live in America and not hold on and not resurrect some aspect of our African traditions is to commit cultural suicide. Every group that immigrated to the United States of America brought their history, brought their culture, brought their language, brought their myths, brought their concepts of God with them. Every group except the so-called Negro. So we are now in a position to resurrect our African consciousness and tap into those things that will allow us to create a bright day, a brighter day for ourselves. Step number 6. Step number 6, you must nurture your spirit. You nurture your spirit by believing in the reality that we are all in possession of spiritual aspects of the Creator. To that extent, we are each a sacred part of the Creator. When I look in every one of you, I see an aspect of God. And by seeing that aspect of God, I know that I cannot disrespect you, because at the same time, I will be disrespecting God. I will be disrespecting myself. So our thoughts and our actions must reflect this level of awareness, this level of conscious awareness. You know, I'm reminded of an experience I had in terms of thinking about how we have been miseducated, turned away from our sources of creation. I think back on an opportunity I had last February to travel to Japan and speak at a couple of military bases. And one Saturday, I gave a presentation, and prior to my address, the chaplain at the base gave a benediction. And during the course of my presentation, I asked the audience to reflect on the benediction that was given and to remember the closing words of that prayer. The closing words were, Amen. So I asked for a show of hands in the audience of all of the people who realized that when they said the word Amen, they were calling the name of an African god. And I saw maybe 4 or 5 hands out of an audience of 300. I saw maybe 4 or 5 hands go up in the air. Finished my presentation, and I discovered the next day, Sunday evening, I was having dinner with some folk at the base. Brother told me that he went to church that Sunday morning. Some of the people who were at my lecture were at the service, and they asked the same pastor who had given the benediction if my comments were correct, that when they used the word amen, they were calling the name of an African god. And the pastor said, well, I think that what Brother Browder said was basically correct. And do you realize that the Negroes in that congregation said that they were going to stop using the word amen.
Mm.
Given an opportunity to begin to see themselves in the image of the Creator, miseducated Negroes will miss that opportunity. And just as you would not go to Union Temple and dress any sort of way, or act any sort of way, or say anything in Union Temple, you can't dress any sort of way with this temple. You can't say or act any certain way with this temple. If this truly is a sacred vessel, and you intend to use it to harness the power of the God force that dwells within you. This is serious business. Either you're going to be about the business of being responsible for your liberation, or you're going to continue to have someone else manipulate you like they have all of these years. Step number 7, last step. Each one of you can begin the process of developing a new conscience or becoming better acquainted with the consciousness that is within you by giving yourself at least 30 minutes a day. Stop and think about it. The average person spends about 8 hours a day on the job working with somebody else, 2 hours preparing to go to work, 2 hours unwinding from your day's work, and about 8 hours sleeping. So on the average day, the average person spends about 20 hours devoted to someone else's best interest. So the least that you can do is set aside 30 minutes a day just for yourself. And within that 30 minutes, you should spend some time processing the day's activities to see how well you were able to incorporate the 10 virtues in your life, how well you were able to control your thoughts and control your actions. Did you talk about that sister who had on that dress that you didn't like and say she sure didn't need to be wearing that dress? Or did you control your thoughts? Or did you only do it 2 times a day as opposed to 7 times yesterday? You know, did you plan some specific objectives for yourself and reach those objectives? You also at the same time have to begin to plan for tomorrow. What didn't I do today that I want to be able to do tomorrow? Or what did I do today that I want to duplicate tomorrow? You've got to assess all of your activities and continue to cultivate those habits that are life benefiting, that are continue to nurture your spirit. And you've got to spend some time each day in prayer or meditation to connect yourself with that source of your creation, to keep that lifeline open so this process can continue. If you perform this task daily for 4 weeks, at least 28 days, then what you will begin to do is to rewrite the software in your mental computer and program your subconscious mind for success. Most changes in behavior can be implemented within a 28-day cycle. You have to want to change, you have to put forth the effort, and you have to be consistent with that effort. If you do these things, then you will be able to free yourself from conceptual incarceration or mental slavery. You'll begin to process suppressed anger, emotion, fear, and get a better understanding of what it is that you were meant to do in this particular lifetime and be about the business of doing your work. You'll be able to set the stage for your mental, physical, and spiritual liberation by becoming the writer, the director, and the producer in your own life. And you will not be able to blame anyone else for your failures. You will understand how everything in life comes to you, comes through you, and you determine whether or not you will be successful at the end of the day, at the end of the month, at the end of your life. You make that determination by how you use what the Creator has given you. So, in closing, I want you to remember 2 things. One is the information that I've shared with you today, as well as the information that we've shared during the other lectures, during the course of this trip, is information which for the most part has intentionally been withheld by you, by the same people who were responsible for enslaving your ancestors. For you to remain ignorant of your true identity means that you will remain powerless and will not be able to change your destiny. This knowledge, secondly, this knowledge, if used correctly, has the potential not only to influence your life, but the lives of your descendants, and it has the ability to affect the consciousness of every human being who will walk the earth. We're talking about some powerful stuff, but we're also talking about some very simple things that everyone can do, everyone is capable of doing, but it means that you may have to take some time, cut off the television, might have to kill your CD player, might have to disconnect the telephone, spend some time with the book, spend some time talking with people that are doing something with their lives, and be about the business of creating the world that you want your great-grandchildren to inherit. Right? You all are each charged with the responsibility of taking the knowledge and the information that you've been exposed to, taking it back home and using it to transform the lives of at least 3 people. And if you don't, then you have effectively turned away from an opportunity given you by the Creator to change the quality of life for our people. And if you don't suffer for it in this lifetime, you will in the next. So your future is in your hands. I want to encourage you all to use this information to make the most out of your talents and abilities, so when we come back to Africa, say 3 years from now, we can stay in the hotel that we own. We can stay in the hotel that we own. Okay? We can maybe fly over in the airplane that we have stock in. We can be able to make a greater contribution instead of coming in and giving a few dozen pencils and a few pairs of notepaper. We can buy a school. We can supply that school with everything that those children are going to need in order to transform the quality of their nation. We can determine who the future leaders of African nations will be. Africans living in America are the best educated and wealthiest African people on the planet. Africans living within the Washington metropolitan area are the cream de la cream. Cream de la cream. My question is, what are you all doing with this cream? All right? Now, before we formally bring this session to a close, we need to do something that we traditionally do for all of our trips. We have a little graduation exercise where we want to ask you to come up and receive a document, a reminder, if you will, of this trip, and ask you to share with those present here this evening something about yourself. You know, oftentimes throughout the course of the trip, you know, I forgot some of your names, and I said, "Hey, sister, how you doing?" instead of knowing your name. And I know I'm not the only guilty party. So, if we can formally, before we leave this evening, introduce ourselves again, and let everyone here in this circle know who you are, what you do, what talents you have, so that as we begin to come back home and start reflecting on this trip, we can begin to utilize the people in this room to develop those things that we may choose to work on in our life. So Sister Marimba, can you come up and give me a hand with all of this? Pardon? You don't want help? Ask me help. Just say you don't want help. Okay, well, call up the names. Good things. Well, no, that's not what you said. Just call up this one. When your name is called, if you can, just make your way up to the table here, pick up your papyrus, and tell us briefly something about yourself. We got an hour to do this before we go to the dinner. Okay?
Selena Grady.
Selena's not here? Okay.
Antoinette Grady.
Nope.
Shirley Braxton.
Here's the memento of the trip.
Thank you. My name is Shirley Braxton. I'm a native Washingtonian. I am one of 10 children. I was educated in parochial school up to the 8th grade. From there on into public school. I attended Cortez Peters Business School. I worked for the federal government. I worked for the Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm looking forward to retirement next year. Oh, I'm married and I have one son. He'll be 31 years old in December.
Here's a footnote. I was just reading something in the paper earlier this year about Cortez Peters, and I didn't.
See the people getting on the bus. JV.
Last phase of the tour, we had to hang out here for just a couple of hours and then get back on the flight and go back to Cairo before we head out to New York. Some of us are a little exhausted at this point, but don't be fooled by it. The excitement is still very exuberant within us as we complete our tour. So let's get on board.
As you can see, this is one of the temples here. This big dome structure. Some of the vendors here selling all their goods. It's like one of the last stops. Probably the last thing that we can buy probably be in Cairo. So this is pretty near to the last thing. It's one of the entrances to the temple.
I would like to show you about the location. Where's the location? There is the foundation of the original
location.
was the other side, where the sands. The sands over there. The sands, the heavy sands. This is the original location. The problem building began with the building of the high dam. Which is when they changed the river in 1964. They began the building in 1961. The water raised up. Every day getting water, getting problems. Two traditions of the archaeologists, architects, the most
This is the lake created by the high dam. They had to move the temples to the current location that I just showed you in the previous segment.
Right here of the Nile. And you see, this is huge, impressive statues. You will see 4 statues in the front, and then you see the columns, and then the Holy of Holies for the sun used to touch the head of Francis twice a year. Anyway, you get the picture inside by regular cameras, by video camera, and then I show you about the temple of the Queen Nefertari, the princess wife around this tomb. What was this like this building about 150 years ago? This was covered by rubble and dirt and sands. There is, I think, Italian Navy and later German Egyptologists called Buldung. While he was coming or sailing through the Nile, you notice the head of Ramses coming out from the sands down there, the dust, and then he discovered the temple. But before this time, maybe 400 years ago, 500 years ago, this was used for living by Upper Nubian people and also some travelers or traders. That's why you will see so. When I came there 4 years ago, there was nothing but an island. That's why the place was open here. Low height.
Yep. This is the original location of the temple. Now it's covered by water. So you can see the man-made lake, largest man-made lake in the world. We're walking right around to the beginning, to the front of the temple here. So you can see the Colossus, Ramses. See the lake. This is the front of the temple here. See how big this is?
People in the front. Everything worships a god, not only mankind,
Baboons.
animals, stones, because everything are equal and created by the god. And you see in the middle, the god Rahvarakti, which is wearing sun disk, and 4 statues of the King Ramses the Great, each one 21 meters high. Nobody could believe it how they move it from down there to here. And you see they are made by sandstone, but this temple cut into the rock, not constructed. You know what I mean? It's difficult. If it is constructed, it's easy to move it. But this cut in the rock, cut in the stone, it was all one block, one piece. And you see the statues here today. Looks like one block, but they are block over block when we move it. And you see big numbers of the god Horus here, statues. and the Queen Nefertari, wife of Ramses the Great, and a lot of graffiti of Europeans who came long time ago by sailing or robbing, stealing, you know, when they took boats and they carving their names. And you see the graffiti on both sides. And then I show you about the union between south and north of Kemet. I mean upper lower Nile. You see big plants. Graffiti over there? See the graffiti? 1853. Another one 1886.
The mark of the devil.
Brothers and sisters, you see here the real Nubian space. Look at the Queen Nefertari here. You see Queen Nefertari? Where is the crown? And look at her crowns with the lots of flower in between the cartouche of her husband, Ramses II, Ramses the Great. And you see the front. Look in the front her name.
Look at this keychain.
Mut Nefertari. It means Queen Nefertari, beloved by the god
It's a Nubian
Amun-Ra.
face.
And you see sometimes daughters of Ramses
What
II
keychain?
holding like a feather. Princesses, you know, holding feather
Oh.
of justice, or the ostrich, to make shade for Ramses the Great. The statue, I think,
See, it's a Nubian
more than about
face.
65 feet, sorry, 65 feet. And you see on both sides the cartouches of Ramses and his wishes. But look here, you see here?
Freaking faces. Hey, Red, look at the faces right here. It's African faces.
Close them together.
So these are slaves that were captive or something?
No flesh.
The ceiling here.
Who are living or are hidden in their own citadel. And when you see thick hair, and look over there, Ramses makes offerings for the gods of Egypt. For example, the god Buddhist, the god Amun-Ra, the god Nefertari, all these offering scenes. Ceiling was covered by stars, and blue color, but the roof is off. That's why you see the ceiling colors there. And in the middle, you see
Looking into the other room. So you can see some of the colors are still there. Right here, colors.
Fences without sandals or without
Sandals
shoes
and
also.
shoes.
You see
Good.
here, there's many
Shoes
side
are-
rooms used as storage, storerooms, and dedicated to the locale of the local god of this area, like the god Maharati, god Amra. And you see, all just for a second, maybe for 2 minutes, I think, touch the head and then disappear for the rest of the year. And you see here, the small altar, which used for sacrificing animals, or could we use this for a sacred barge, sacred boat. That's why you see two processions. The drops of water comes down, and there's a sacred barge here of the god Amun-Ra. Other side, the god Maharati with the hawk head. And you see all names gods written without cartouche, but the only cartouche is over the heads of all this war scenes inside. Yes, it is moving right in blue.
It's inside the Holy of Holies.
No, not one night, but are both nights. King of South and North. That's why it's a significance in the south of Egypt. The vulture, also the cobra serpent. The excellent serpent. Upper, lower defense. Both nights. You have a tape?
Most of the colors are black and gold. the other profile shot of the tomb. Or the temple, I should say. It's not a tomb, it's a temple. Inside the tomb right here, Nefertari. She sees the Nubian woman with corn rolls.
These are legs when the queen of retired. This is front, mid, one fair.
Excuse me.
So it's there thunder. Can this get closer? See? The queen of retired to the thrust of the legs. And all 2 years in the body, the upper part, the first guy, and it's here beautiful face, and it's over the front, and this is the cartouche, and the musical instrument from Sistro, that we told you before, and I told you it's a music played by South American musicians. Here, make the sounds. Here, it's the gods of Egypt. Here, look here. Yes. Nefertari Hathor. The same headdress of the queen Nefertiti now in Berlin Museum. Abi, you see Ramses carrying the side of Ma'at and standing for the gods of Ra. But the two could do very called here, very zero, this where is it put there? Here we retiring. Already for life. Before the Buddhist Hathor, there's a little Android. And the book like Ramses II with the 2 different crowns. One is the lily crown, one is the white crown, and she's cartouches, and then the big titles. And with the colors and the means. Imagine what we can see if this temple is the fullest.
It's still intact. Here's gold.
See, this is special ceremony, you know, how to coronate a lady of Egypt and the wife of Ramses II. How she became the queen of Kemet. The crowns of Nefertari. There's the goddess Isis, sorry, the goddess Hathor, and her name up there. There's the of the god Horus. She's the wife of the god Osiris. Hands, blessing Nefertari means good luck, good health for the new job for the queen, for the daughter Joy, and Ramses II makes offerings for his wife and for the goddess Hathor. Also, what is your custom work that was going to this important?
Holy of Holies, Nefertari's temple. Queen being blessed by the goddess Isis.
Each one 2 meters high.
It's the dome right here that houses the tomb.
And the whole foliage in the back, the church, the steps down there. The temple cut with the rocks, and then we built, we added another dome, like a cover. This, whatever dynamites or something happens,
This houses the
comes down.
temple
I think
of
no problem,
Ramses
the
II.
stone will be alright. This one, the stew, yeah? When they cut it, they use it.
This is the dome. Inside the dome, we're about to go up the steps to get out. This is where the Temple of Ramses II is housed in this huge dome here. That right there is where the colossal statues are, the face of the tomb or the temple. Where walking up right now. We're going out. And this basically concludes the tour. Well, folks, we're on the plane back to JFK, New York. And we're all getting situated here. See the map. We're in Cairo currently. I think I am going to check my right there. Let's see. Folks right there. Got you on tape, bro. Baby D. Alright, you on, bro.
Okay, people. It is now October 11th, 1994. We've just finished a monumental trip to Kemet. We've done extensive study tour with Tony Crowder, Ron Wilson, Harold Cook, and you can't forget our
Abu Naga.
Our fabulous tour guide, Abu Naga. We went to see all the temples, cruised the Nile. We had a fabulous, words can't describe the time we had here in Kemet. We're right currently now in Cairo. The time is 1:42. Cairo time. I'm about to set my watch forward. Or back, actually. Back 6 hours, so synchronized with East Coast time. I've had a great time, but as you say, there's no place like home. I'm ready to go back home, which is America. And we had a great time. We might get some shots of some other people that want to be on the tape. Do a little wrap up, but we'll probably do another final wrap up when we get into the national or JFK or national. So until then,
All right, folks, we're about to land in New York. As you can see, this is Long Island from the plane. You see, we're on our 747 right here. This is Long Island. So happy to be back in America. Crazy as that sounds, but this is our home. So we're going to be landing in about 5 minutes or so. You can see the plane is turning now, making its final approach. Sun rising. Let's see what time it is here. Same time, 6:51 a.m. So, October 11th, back on East Coast time. See, this is our plane. This is a plane showing our approximate location graphically on the map. See, it's almost over New York. So the close up right here. This is on the showing it on the screen here. About the land in JFK. Another close up. So, see y'all when we land. See, this is New York. Coming in. About to land. Like a landing here. See the Twin Towers. See the Twin Towers over there in Manhattan.
حضرة الركاب ضفر قناة المطار كندي الرجل تأكل نظارات حزام المقعد ظهر وضع ظهر فقط هذا ما تدل على الامتناع تماما عن التدخين. شكرا. Ladies and gentlemen, with a few minutes share landing at Kennedy Airport, you are carrying this fasten your seatbelt with the back of your seat in an third position and observe the no smoking sign. Thank you.
Twin Towers, World Trade Center, New York. So they hit the ground here. So you see the landing gear. Very, very big wing. This landing right here. Oh. We are now on the ground. US of A. Jamel, you back?
Back in Washington, D.C.
That's right.
Glad to be back to the other part of the world, but I really miss my other home.
What about you?
Hotep, glad to be back. What can I say? The experience has expanded my vision. I've gone home to return here, never to be the same again. Hotep. Good to be back home. It's good to have gone home. And I just look forward to bigger and better things.
All right.
Thank the Lord that we got there and got back safely and we're able to grow as a result of this trip. I'll see you all in church Sunday.
Good.
God bless.
All right, folks, we just landed here in Washington, D.C. We're back home from an exciting, extraordinary trip to Egypt, Kemet. We have lots of information to share with you. As you can see, as you've seen in probably most of this video here, we got hours and hours of exciting, incredible information, and we hope you